Well, good afternoon. As we promised, we're going to give you a review of what the heredity and the family history looks like for the family, the McBride family, that is. And to help do this, because I couldn't possibly do it, my favorite daughter, my oldest daughter, my prettiest daughter, is going to tell you a lot about things you don't know about the family history. This is Lori.
We find out from Ancestry a lot of different things that is very interesting about where we came from, the McBride family and our family history. We found out that we actually went all the way back to Scotland, where we originally started. We found out with the, I'm going to say the name of it correctly, the Chaldean Jacobites, during their war, that they were warring against England, I guess at the time. That was during the 1745 is actually when that ended. It looks like Andrew was born, which is when he was 20 years old. He took a ship, and the ship's name was the Panthea, across to come to America. And it looks like he was totally by himself and alone. There's no other family members that were on that ship with him. It looks like he was the only one. Originally, I had thought that he had a cousin or something that came across with him, but I don't see it in the ship's ledger at all. I only see him. And it shows him as a weaver. Whether we know that he's a weaver or not, I'm not quite sure. But it shows him as a weaver in the ship log. I'm with our computer said.
I didn't know they had such a thing. I thought they were around all the time.
I know. No computers, no way of making sure that they kept
Smoke signals, maybe.
Those logs, so we don't know exactly who he married or who his wife was. But he had, let's see, can you believe this? You're never going to believe what their son's name was. Leo Thomas. That's his name. And Leo Thomas was born in 1833 in Jamesville, Ohio. Now, Leo Thomas married Sarah Price. Now, Sarah, her nickname was Fanny, because they called her Fanny is actually what they called her, but her name was Sarah Price. And Sarah, she was born in 1840. And they showed them with all the ledgers in Knox, Missouri. Now, poor Fanny, man. I'm going to tell you how many boys she had. I think they're trying for a girl and they couldn't have him. So sad. So, the first son, William, 1862. Not even 2 years later, she has another one, poor lady. John, 1864. Not even a year later. He doesn't even give her time to have another child. Behrman was born in 1865.
She didn't learn how to cook. She didn't have time.
I guess she didn't have time. Always pregnant. But what this poor woman must have been thinking, no girls by this point even, right? Then she had Samuel in 1869. It looks like Samuel was a twin. And it looks like one of the twins died because it says no name and it has the same date down. So I think that he could have been a twin. Then they had Lafayette in 1873. So he gave her, 3 years between the next one, I guess. He gave her a little bit of time to grieve. Then they had Pearl, and that was 1874. So not even a year later again, poor woman. And then they had Harry, 1878. Oh, he gave her 4 years. 4 years in between that one. What happened there? And then he had, then she had Timothy. Well, can you believe it? 1882. Now, that is 9 boys in 20 years. Why did she die then? I can't imagine.
A lot of kids.
And all boys, no girls. She must have been trying for a girl. She had to have been trying for a girl. So
my uncle's name was Pearl, but he went by Uncle Purd. I think that was probably a good move. Yeah.
Purdy Purd. So out of 9 boys, it looks like they had all 9 boys before they left Missouri on the covered wagons, Oregon Trail. Who knows why they left? I thought at first it was the red one. Okay.
I'm going to
try this again.
Do something like this. I think sticking in my back and kill me. I got to pick that out one of these days.
So I got it out.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. That's
Okay, now where were we?
I don't know.
Oh, when they came over the covered wagons, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Your grandfather, Grandpa Tim. Let's see. There, that's what I was on right there. Okay, so it shows that. Okay, when they got over by the covered wagons, they were actually given a plot of land in 1890. The plot is called Pilot Rock. And you said you recognized that name. Pilot Rock, you were saying it's near Pendleton.
Pendleton, Oregon, yes.
Pendleton, Oregon. So, the youngest of the children, again, Grandpa Tim married Ethel. So it's Grandma Ethel that he married. And he married her, and they lived in Weston. And that's where they were actually living. And they had one son. His name was, can't imagine it not being Thomas. Thomas Leo, no, it's Lawrence, Lawrence Leo Truman. Well, Leo Truman or Thomas, one or the other. Lawrence Leo Truman, and he was born in 1911. And Lawrence Leo Truman was one of the only.
I wasn't there at the time.
He was the only son born of Grandpa Tim and Grandma Ethel. I don't know, probably because he grew up with so many brothers and sisters. Not brothers and sisters. Take that back. So many brothers. He said, "I'm going to have a son that doesn't have to share." I'm sure that's what it was, because he's the youngest too. So I can imagine what he got all the hand-me-downs. You know that. So okay, so then he married Grandma Ethel. Now I called him Dadgy. His son Lawrence Leo Truman. That's what we called. That's who we called Dadgy. But Dadgy, he used to tell these great stories, and I'd sit there at his feet, and I'd listen to his stories. I'm like, "Tell me the stories about the bear." So they would go on these big hunts, and they'd hunt for bear, and he'd hunt for elk, and I'd be all excited about hearing about this. But I guess back in the day, the Indians, they actually had farmers when they used to have their crops. They would have all the people who were the help was the Indians in full Indian dress and everything. And they'd go out and they'd hunt for bear. He'd tell me all the stories about the bear. Not really sure how many were totally true. But I think he made up some things about the huckleberry eating along the way. But you tell me these stories about hunting bears.
They had about 15 guys with them hunting bears, so it's quite a thing. I have a picture. Hopefully I may add that into this later on so you can see it.
You know, I remember a story too, him telling about somebody having a heart attack while they're up in the mountains hunting for bear and elk. And the guy had a heart attack, so they had to cart him out. So I loved that story when I was young too.
I guess he didn't grin and bear it. I don't know what happened, but that's it.
Of course. I always wanted Dad to bring me back a baby deer. I said, "You kill the mom, you kill the dad, you make sure you bring back the baby." I wanted a baby deer. I looked for that baby deer every time he'd come back from elk hunting. Never got my baby deer. Got some old head that was put in the garage.
Elk and a deer are two different things, but that's all right. Okay.
Well, whatever. I just wanted a baby. That's all I wanted. So then, let's go back to Lawrence Leo Truman. He marries Maxine Lavina, and her name was Geis at the time, and she was the second child of Geis's. Albert and Flossie Geis. And they married, and they lived in Military Water. They had two sons. The first one was his brother Dick, his name is Richard. Not Thomas. They didn't name him Thomas. I wonder why.
I don't know.
They didn't name you Thomas either.
I think they ran out of names. I'm not sure. Yeah.
So brother Dick was born in 1939. I almost said 1839. That would have been good. He married Caroline Duff, and they had one child. I wonder how long these one children are going to last. One child, and that was Marcy. Marcy was born in 1962. She's older than me. She's my older cousin. And they lived in Reading. They stayed in Reading for a long time. And then they had Stephen. Actually, his name was Gerald Stephen McBride. And he was born in what? Do you remember the year you were born?
1946, or 1846, one of the two.
1946.
Yeah, I think that's right, yeah.
And you lived all over the place.
I lived, Fruitvale, Oregon is the main place I lived.
Fruitville? Fruitville.
As Sid says, you lived with the fruits, huh? Yeah, I did, yes.
And where he had a sheep. I remember the story of the sheep.
Yeah. Bad, yeah.
The sheep that followed you
It's a
around.
bad story.
Yeah, I remember all the stories. It was great stories. But then you moved away to go to college to Oregon State?
University of Oregon.
University, U of O, I'm sorry.
Oregon State,
I know, sorry, whatever. So anyway, so then he comes back and he marries Mary Ann Odoms. And the interesting part about the Odoms side is their side of the family comes the same side of Scotland as my father's side. You've been related. That explains my sister.
Could be. Could be.
Anyway, it's a little bit of inbreeding. No. Anyway, so then Steve Gerald Stephen has 4 kids. Lori, we won't say what year she was born because that'll tell you her age. And then Allison Marie, and then Evan Thomas. There we go, Thomas again. And then Matthew Scott. We've got somebody else in there. And they were born in 1970, 1972, and 1974.
We didn't have time to have 9, so we just want to
Stop at that. Well, because you had girls, you know. If you had boys, you may have changed your mind.
Right.
And then, okay, and what, anything else you want to tell?
I think that's about it.
By the way, I have a grandson named Thomas too, so he's got a Thomas name also.
Well, I know that's a lot of people that
Oh,
we
Tommies.
want you to memorize this because there will be a test sent out to you. So
Just remember the name Tommy, Thomas, what, Leo Thomas, whatever. You'll get it right. You'll have somebody in our lineage, some name, perfect name, because you can't forget the name Thomas. It's in everybody's name.
well, thank you very much, Lori. That's really fun to know about, and this will pass on to future generations. And we plan on you carrying on this, so we can carry this so your children will know what's happening. Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Well, hello. My name is Steve. You should know that by now. And we're here today to talk about the family history video of the McBride family. Oh, that sounds exciting. And first I'd like to introduce my friend here. This is Sid. Hi there. My name's Sid. Well, I told him that. Well, I guess you did. And Sid is a dummy. What? I say you're a dummy. Well, you're a dummy too. Well, no, I mean you're a ventriloquist dummy. Oh, I see. I didn't know that. I thought I was real. Sometimes you look real. I act kind of real too sometimes, yeah. Well, you really do. Any case, before we get started, I wanted to dedicate this video to God, who gave us a wonderful family, a family that's carried over the many, many years through our ancestry. And I just really appreciate all the things he's done for us. You know, in this time of trouble that's going on right now, we have to stay in our homes and things. It can get rather boring, and it's easy to get off the trail, but God takes care of us, and he's always there for us, so it's important. And I want to thank him for that, and I dedicate this video to him. Now let's talk about a little bit about the family. We're going to go down the scale of each people, of all the people that are involved, actually from the late 1880s. What's that on your head? What do you mean, what's on my head? What's on your head? A hat, of course. And he got it on for. Why, this is to remember my grandfather. He wore a hat all the time. Where'd it go? What do you mean, where'd the hat go? No, where'd your hair go? My hair? Oh, well, that is kind of hereditary. Sounds like a disease to me. Well, hereditary means it goes through the family, and I lost my hair pretty early. Should glued it back on. I probably should have. Anyway, let's put the hat back on. Oh, that's good. The reflection's really bad. Do your whole family have no hair? No, well, most of my family has hair. It's just some of us guys. Anyway, who are those people out there looking at us? Well, those people out there looking at us. I can't see who they are. Oh, I bet you can't. Can't see through the camera. Yeah. Well, those people out there are some of the finest people in our family. We have some very fine people. And are they dummies? No, I don't think they're going to consider them dummies. And they come from a long line of heritage. Well, what are they waiting for? A short line? No, it's a long line. I mean, they had many aunts and uncles and cousins and boys and girls. Oh, a lot of them. Really old people, huh? Well, some of them, like you. No, I'm not that old like them. When I was alive. Well, actually, when he was alive. You get mixed up, don't you? I do. Well, his name was Timothy McBride. Timothy McBride. 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 I like that. Yeah, well, his name actually, he went by Tim. Tim. Like Tiny Tim? No, not Tiny Tim. That was a guy in the Christmas Carol movie. Oh, sounded familiar to me. Grandpa Tim do. Well, Grandpa Tim came from Missouri. He was in Missouri? He came from Missouri? No, not Missouri, Missouri. Oh, what's in Missouri? Missouri was a state he came from in the Midwest. Oh, how did he get here? Well, I don't know. What kind of car did he have? Oh, he didn't. I don't think he had a car. They came over by horse and wagon, and horse and wagon. That's a tough thing. Yeah, I bet it was too.
Well, we're back. And today, with this presentation, I guess it's called a presentation, we're going to talk about, as I said before, the McBride family and as much history as we can talk about. I have a helper today that's here to help me. Yeah, that's me. This is my friend and my dummy, Sid. What did you call me? I said my friend and my dummy, Sid. What do you mean, dummy? Well, you're my friend, and I bought you at a store a long time ago. You're kidding. No, I'm not kidding. Anyway, he's my friend. He's part of the family. Yeah, I'm part of the dummies in the McBride family. Yes, okay. All right, let's start out. Let's start from the beginning. Hold on. What do you mean, hold on? Hold on. I want you to take. What's that hat there? Well, it's one of my hats. Take it off. Well, I don't want to take it off. Take it off, please. Oh, okay. Where did it go? What, my hat? It's right here. No, your hair. Well, that went with the heredity thing. What do you mean? Well, in my family, it kind of ran in the family that as we got older, we lost our hair. Why didn't you glue it back in? Well, I don't know. That's a good idea, but I don't know anybody who figured out how to do that. Well, in any case, I have a bunch of notes here, and so I'll be looking down as I'm taking them because I forget about a lot of the dates and times here, so we'll see how accurate we can be. Who are all those people out there looking at us? Those people out there? Yeah, out there on the TV. Oh. Well, those people are some of the finest friends and family of the McBrides. Discouraging, isn't it? That wasn't very nice. Well, I'm sorry. No, I bet you are. Well, anyway, this is a long line of family, actually, that we're going to be talking about. Should be a short line. No, this is a long line. I'm going to talk about grandpas, grandmas, aunts, uncles, anybody that was part of our family, and some of the relatives, and some of the cousins and the friends. Oh, that sounds like fun. Let's go ahead. Okay. What are we going to talk about? Well, we're going to talk about family heritage and heredity. Heredity? Heredity? What's heredity? Well, heredity is our family tree. You fell out of a tree? No, we didn't fall out of a tree. Our family grew from the very beginning, and I have history clear back beyond at the 1800s. Wow, that's a long time ago. Yeah, it is a long time ago. Let's talk about first my grandpa. You had a grandpa? Yeah, I sure did. Oh, that's nice. What's his name? Well, his name was, you don't remember? Yes, I do remember, but his name was Timothy McBride. Oh, I knew him. Well, you didn't know him. Yeah, I did. Tiny Tim? No, Tiny Tim was the one on the TV. Oh, remember the movie about Tiny Tim? I guess so. No. Well, this isn't Tiny Tim. This is Tim, my grandpa. And he was born in Western Oregon. When was he born? He was born in 1882. 1882? Yeah. That's a long time ago. Yeah, it's a long time ago. Where, you know where he was living? No, where did he live? Well, he actually came from Missouri originally. Missouri. How Missouri was it? No, not Missouri, Missouri. Missouri. That's a state. A state of confusion? No, a state in the United States. Oh, you mean you don't know your states? Oh, I guess I don't. Okay. Well, anyway, he came from Missouri, and he came out with his family, and I don't know if it was on a covered wagon. Well, should have been covered. It got rained on. Well, yeah, it's true. But he come out on some method by horses and whatever, and he came to the Oregon country. Oh, that's where you lived. Yeah, that's where I lived. And he came to Western Oregon. Western Oregon, yeah. Where's Western Oregon? Well, Western Oregon is, well, the best way I can tell, it's really close to Milton Freewater, Oregon. Milton what? Milton Freewater. But I'll tell you about that later. Oh, I hope so. That's confusing. Well, anyway, he was out there, and you know, he ended up buying some land, and he started a farm. Oh, he was a farmer. Yes, he was a farmer, and a good farmer. He had 1,000 acres of wheat. Wow, that's a lot of wheat. Make a lot of Wheaties. I don't think they made Wheaties out of them then. But he made a lot of money doing that, I guess, as in that time and year. Yeah. Well, anyway, he had to process that wheat, and the way he had to cut it is with, well, he had 10, well, actually, I had 12 horses. No tractors? No, they didn't have tractors at that time. No tractors. That's too bad. That must have been hard work. Well, it was very hard work, and they hooked it, the 12 the 12 horses up to this combine. Combine. What's a combine? Well, it's a big machine that goes around and around, and as they go along the ground, it pulls up the actual stalks of wheat and takes the wheat grains off. Oh, I see. That's exciting. Yeah, that's exciting. Very hard work. Yeah, it's hard work. And then what they do with the wheat? Well, they put it in wagons and they took it to a place where they processed it and ground it up into flour. What do they need flours for? No, not flours. Flour like that you make bread out of. Oh, I see. Yeah. And anyway, that's what they did. And what? Well, I'll ask a question. Yeah, I bet you do. How did they eat? They must have got hungry. Well, they got very hungry. He had a bunch of people working for him, guys working for him, all during the summer. They worked from 6 a.m. till dark. Long day, long days. And what happened was they would get hungry at noon. I get hungry at noon. Well, at noon, they took him down to the little house they had down below, and my grandmother, whose name was Ethel. Ethel, that's a good name, yeah. And Ethel was the cook, and she had several ladies that worked for her, and they cooked meals for the men every day. Wow, that they ate a lot. Oh, I'm sure they ate a lot. Ethel was, her name was Ethel O'Hara. O'Hara, that's a good one too. Yeah, well, she, when she was, she passed away in 1907. Oh, that's a pretty long life. Yeah, she lived a long time. And they lived in Oregon, and they harvested that wheat for many years. Oh, like he. What did they do then? Well, they moved. Where did they move to? Well, they moved to a place called Ferndale, Oregon. Ferndale. Yeah, Fern's there? I don't know, but that's where it was. A very nice place. Where was it? Well, it was, again, close to Milton Freewater. Milton Freewater again. Tell me about that town. Well, there was two towns, actually. There was a town called Milton and a town called Freewater. Yeah? And they combined the towns and combined the name, and they called it Milton Freewater. How come the Freewater? Well, the Freewater was, there was Blue Mountains right there at the base of the hills, and in the Blue Mountains there was a lot of snow in the wintertime, and when it melted, it made a lot of water, which is really clear, clean water, and it came down through a flume to the Milton Freewater area. What's a flume? Well, a flume was a big pipe that was alongside the hill all the way down, and when it got there, they went to put it in a reservoir. A reservoir. Not a reservoir? No, a reservoir. Oh, okay. And they got free water, so they call that Milton Freewater. Ah, that's a good deal. That's a good deal. Free water. We pay a lot for it here. Yeah, we really do. Anyway, they moved to Ferndale, and they built a house, and my grandfather did, and they had quite a bit of acreage there, and they had a horse. Oh, another horse, yeah. They didn't have 12 anymore, they just had one. And so this house was built right over a underground flowing water, and they had to build a little platform over it and built a house over it, and so the water ran underneath the house all that time. Wow, that's unique. Yeah, it is a little unique. So the nice thing about it was, when I was a kid, I really looked forward to my grandmother would take me down the steps, clear down in the dark, deep underneath the house. It's actually, they had a cellar down there. Cellar, yeah. And so I looked, and she'd open up this platform. It was kind of a wood gate thing in the concrete, and you could see the water running under the house. Wow. Didn't get washed away? No, they had some kind of piping system. Where'd the water go? Well, it went out back, and it was in a pond, and there was ducks out there, and it was really nice. Wow. And out back was a little house was built for my dad's brother, and his name was Pearl. Pearl? A guy's named Pearl? Yeah. Well, actually, yeah, that was a name at that time. Really wouldn't work now. Probably not. Anyway, but he went by Purd, and so I called him Uncle Purd. Uncle Purd. Oh, nice. Let me tell you a quick story about Uncle Purd. Yeah, I'd like to hear it. Well, he lived in that little house, and he's very quiet. He didn't get out and do too much, but I came to his little house a lot, and he told me stories about the history of the land around there, and it was really interesting. Yeah. Well, any case, you said that many times. Any case. Yeah, well, I probably will. I'm used to that. Well, anyway, that's better. Yeah. Anyway, one day I was out there talking with him, and a friend came over to visit with him. Oh, that's nice, isn't it? Yes, it was. Anyway, they got to talking about old times, and Uncle Purd, he said, told him about when they were blasting with dynamite to build roads. Oh, that sounds exciting. Well, I don't know how exciting it was, but they used it to blast these roads. So, as he was talking to this gentleman that was with him, he went over and got a box and brought it over, and in this box were about 8 sticks of dynamite. You're kidding. No, I'm not kidding. 8 sticks of dynamite? Yes. Weren't you afraid? Well, I didn't know about it. I didn't think about it too much. I thought they'd blow up. Well, I found out later that dynamite does not blow up unless you use a device that sets them off. It's a separate blast. So it wasn't damaged to handle it, but his friend didn't know that. Didn't know it. No, he didn't know it. And so my Uncle Perd, he had a old pot-bellied stove, and he went over and he opened the stove up, and he threw in the 2 sticks of dynamite in there. Oh no! Wow, I just had to go scared. Well, I didn't know. I didn't know what was going to happen. And his friend just panicked. What did he do? Well, the window was open, but the screen was still there, and he jumped out the window right through the screen. I think I would have done that too. Well, actually, he wasn't in danger at all, and my Uncle Perd got quite a kick out of that, and he told him the truth. Oh, I see. My dad. Yeah. What's your dad's name? Well, my dad's name was Lawrence Leo Truman McBride. Lawrence Leo Truman McBride? That's a long name. What's Truman doing in there? Well, Truman, I don't really know. I never heard the full story of that, but Truman was a president at that time of the United States, so I guess they added his name in there. Wow. Took a long time to write his name. I guess it did. And so my dad was born, and he lived with them in Milton Freewater for a while. Oh. He lived with my grandma and grandpa for a while. Then he moved out to Fruitvale. You got some weird names in that town. Yeah, well, Fruitvale was a small town. It was called Fruitvale because there was a lot of orchards and a lot of things around there. And he built a house out there in Fruitvale. Oh. And then he married my mom, whose name was Maxine Levine O'Hara. Maxine Levine O'Hara. That's a good name. Yeah, I like that one. That's better than Pearl. Well, I guess so. They moved there and actually got married. That was in 1942. 1932, yeah. And you know, did people live a long time then? Well, people did live a long time then. I know my mom, Maxine, and she was called Annie Max by all the grandkids. Yeah.
To hear about. So I'll go through these quickly. Hope you find some humor in them. I did have a really fun time as a kid. Did some things, some strange things also. My dad built me what I called a motor car at that time. It was a framed car with a small gasoline engine on the back of it. It was shaped like a Jeep, but we never got around to making the Jeep. So I drove around in this up and down the roads, realizing that the roads down at Fruitvale were paved and they were not much traffic on it. So one day we were going up and down the road, and a good friend of mine, Clifford Maines, he was riding it at times, and I was riding it. And I was riding it, and we're going down the road, and he's running alongside, and all of a sudden he tripped and fell in front of the car, and I ran right over him. Well, that was, what? Yeah, I ran over him. That must have hurt. Well, I probably think it did. He got up and leaped off and limped off, I should say, and went home. Never said a word. Wow, you could have been arrested. Yeah, probably could have been. You know, one of the things that was real interesting growing up is when I was young and just starting into high school, there was no TV. Now I know that's no TV. No TV. No TV sets, nothing to see. No, we didn't have that. Wow, how boring life, I guess. But in any case, in order to get TV, you had to have an antenna. But the first stations were very, very far away. The first one that was closest to us was in Spokane, Washington. And Spokane was, I would guess 120 miles away, 140 miles away, something like that. And so my dad put up an antenna, and he had to make an antenna that was, I think, 75 feet high to get up to high enough to pick up the signal. Well, we did picked up the signal. We got the TV going. It was really interesting. When you first see the TV, they didn't have TV on all day. Usually it's on for 3 or 4 hours. Wow, that's not very long. That's not very long. In any case, he turned that TV on, and the first thing you would see is this, what they call the test pattern. And the test pattern had an Indian in it. Not always fascinating. I'll show you the picture of it out there. And that's the first thing you saw. And then it would come up with the TV programs. Now, the programming was pretty limited. There was a couple of mystery programs. There was some news. It all took about maybe 4 hours, and then it was off. I think from 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock till 8 o'clock in the evening. But everybody, really was intrigued by it. Well, the thing was, nobody else in the whole area where we lived had a TV set. Oh, really? And now they were really hurting. Yeah, they were hurt. But what would happen is they'd come down to our house and come in and look and stare at that TV set because they'd never seen anything before. I like it. So that was kind of fun. Now later on, there's some more local stations in the Tri-Cities and stuff, and things got better. The TV tube itself, I think, was about 10 inches diameter. So you had to squint to see it. It was like a small computer monitor we have today. I had a dog named Mike, and he was really a great dog. He was a collie, and he was very, very protective of me. If my brother would come out and start wrestling with me, he'd start chewing his legs because he thought I was attacking him. In any case, Mike, one day, several days, he would go up the street with me as about 3/4 of a mile to the grade school where I went to school, called Fruitvale. Fruitvale? You have to be a fruit to be there? No, it's called Fruitvale because it was in the middle of a fruit farm area. And so I would many times ride my bike, sometimes walk to school 3/4 of a mile up, and Mike would follow me about 1/4 of a mile up the road till you get to what's the first house on the right-hand side. The name of the people are Blue Bros. That's a tough one. I'll even try it. Yeah. And those two dogs were really mean, and they'd come out there and bark at him and like going to chew him up, and he'd run the other way and go home. So he never got all the way past there. Well, I think after a while he got really sick of that. I mean, we're talking 6 months, 8 months, and I'm riding my bike and he's following me, and I figured he's going to take off the opposite way. Those dogs came out, and my Mike, he tore into those dogs, and those dogs went beat up away, and from then on he just pranced by their house with no problem, and they never came out and barked at him. So he got his due. Another thing he would do, Mike. Oh, Mike, yeah, I like dogs like that. Yeah. Well, old Mike was kind of interesting. He always seemed to know what we were going to do and where we were going to go. Oh, really? Did you tell him? No, we never told him. Well, we had a lot of places. We had a sugar beet ranch. Sugar beet ranch. That's what my sugar beet. What's a sugar beet? Well, sugar beet is a big beet. It's brown in color on the outside, and it's not one you eat. Oh. And it's one they take and pulverize it and process it and make sugar out of it. And that and cane was the two sources of sugar. Oh. So it's a big deal there. Oh, there's a lot of people that grew those sugar beets. My dad grew the biggest one. He had 400 acres of sugar beets. Wow. Did he use horses? No. By that time, they had no horses. They had tractors. And he had a sugar beet digger and things, and he had a couple hired men and work with him. And they would take the sugar beets to the place where they would dump them into train cars to take them to the place where they process them into sugar. Oh, well, one of the stories, this isn't a funny story, but it's one that's really unusual. We one day, remember this so well, what they do, the train cars were on the tracks, and they were empty cars, and they'd fill them up. Then when they'd fill them up, a main tractor train would come pick them and take them to a place that was about 40 miles away for the processing. In any case, what happened when you get there, the truck we were in, they'd lift the bed and tip it up and it'd dump into a trough in there, and then that trough would grab those beets and put them up into the train car. So when the train car got completely full, they had to move the train car down and move the next one in place. Oh, I see. Sounds simple. No, not very simple. What they had to do, they had a big pry bar that they put underneath, and then they loosen the brake on that particular car they're working with. Yeah, and they would get that car moving a little bit, and then they'd let it roll down to where they needed it. They'd stop it, and they'd bring another one in its place and lock it into place. Well, still sounds pretty simple. Well, the only problem was one day when we were there, what happened was they were doing the same process, and the fella was loosened the brake, and he started the train rolling, but he fell underneath the car. Oh, no, you're kidding. No, I'm not kidding. You sure? I'm sure. He fell under the car, and the train ran over both legs. Oh, that's awful. and it amputated his two legs. But the thing that was amazing was because the train was so heavy, it just sealed up his legs so he didn't bleed to death. And we got him to the hospital and he lived. Boy, that's a terrible thing. I guess you'll remember that for a long time. I will. Another thing we did out on the ranch is go up to move the sprinkler pipe. What's a sprinkler pipe? I can't even say that. Yeah, well, a sprinkler pipe was what watered the sugar beets. Oh, so they grew, yeah. And I had a job of doing that. And these are real long pipes, 40 feet long. And when they run for 12 hours at a time, we would do the changing. And we have to pick them up, and they're heavy and one end, and let the water drag out, and then move that pipe to the next section and hook it back up. So it was heavy work for sure. Well, old Mike, he'd always go with us, and he knew exactly where these places were. So one day we went and got in our Jeep. That's what we had, a Jeep with a carry-all thing on top of it, and it allowed us to take the pipe out to the field. And we got in the Jeep, and he knew right away where we were going. So, but it was a long way around to get to the field where we were at, probably a good mile if you took the roads. But he took off across country, jumping the fences. In fact, we checked him with an odometer on our car, and he was traveling at 40 miles an hour, not all the time, but that was his top speed. That's Sir Doug. Was he a greyhound? No, he was a collie. Oh. And so we get over there to where we're going to work, and there he is, standing there so proud-like and going, like he really was a smart one. Oh, that's funny. That's really funny. I like that story. And other things that we did a lot, there was a friend of mine, Joe Maggie, and we used to make our own rockets and bombs. Well, you talk a lot about explosives, don't you? Well, not usually. But we had, what we did, we made rockets. And we'd roll the paper and make tubes out of them and fill them up with the, well, it was gunpowder at that time, and put a big long stick on them. And Joe's dad wouldn't let us fire them off unless he was at home. A good idea, I think. Yeah, it probably was a good idea. So what happened was, we were in the garage filling up these little tubes with the gunpowder to make the rockets. And we took the little box that we had all the gunpowder, and it was like little petals. And we put it over 6 or 8 feet away. Well, somehow, Joe's younger brother, which didn't know any better, he decided to light a match. And the match sprung a spark into that little cup, and it shoot up and went into the big can that was full of the things. Oh, no. Yeah, oh, yes. And what it did is shot up there. We ran out of the garage, and it burnt. We had to run out and get a hose and spray up there because it burnt the ceiling in the garage. Wow. Did he use horses? No. By that time, they had no horses. They had tractors. And he had a sugar beet digger and things, and he had a couple of hired men who worked with him. And they would take the sugar beets to the place where they would dump them into train cars to take them to the place where they process them into sugar. Oh, well, one of the stories, this isn't a funny story, but it's one that's really unusual. We one day, I remember this so well, what they do, the train cars were on the tracks, and they were empty cars, and they'd fill them up. And when they'd fill them up, a main tractor train would come pick them and take them to a place that was about 40 miles away for the processing. In any case, what happened when you get there, the truck we were in, they'd lift the bed and tip it up and it'd dump into a trough in there, and then that trough would grab those beets and put them up into the train car. So when the train car got completely full, they had to move the train car down and move the next one in place. Oh, I see. Sounds simple. No, not very simple. What they had to do, they had a big pry bar that they put underneath, and then they loosened the brake on that particular car they're working with. Yeah. And they would get that car moving a little bit, and then they'd let it roll down to where they needed it, and they'd stop it, and they'd bring another one in its place and lock it into place. Well, still sounds pretty simple. Well, the only problem was one day when we were there, what happened was they were doing the same process, and the fella was loosened the brake, and he started the train rolling, but he fell underneath the car. Oh, no, you're kidding. No, I'm not kidding. You sure? Yeah, I'm sure. He fell into the car, and the train ran over both legs. Oh, that's awful. and it amputated his 2 legs. But the thing that was amazing was, because the train was so heavy, it just sealed up his legs so he didn't bleed to death. And we got him to the hospital, and he lived. Boy, that's a terrible thing. I guess you'll remember that for a long time. I will. Another thing we did out on the ranch is go up to move the sprinkler pipe. What's a sprinkler pipe? I can't even say that. Yeah, well, a sprinkler pipe was what watered the sugar beets. Oh, so they grew, yeah. And I had a job of doing that. And these real long pipes, about 40 feet long. And when they run for 12 hours at a time, we would do the changing. And we have to pick them up, and they were heavy and one end, and let the water drag out, and then move that pipe to the next section and hook it back up. So it was heavy work for sure. Well, old Mike, he'd always go with us, and he knew exactly where the places were. So one day we went and got in our Jeep. That's what we had, a Jeep with a carry-all thing on top of it, and it allowed us to take the pipe out to the field. And we got in the Jeep, and he knew right away where we were going. So, but it was a long way around to get to the field where we were at, probably a good mile. if you took the roads. But he took off across country, jumping the fences. In fact, we checked him with an odometer on our car, and he was traveling at 40 miles an hour, not all the time, but that was his top speed. That's faster, Doug. Was he a greyhound? No, he was a collie. Oh. And so we get over there to where we're going to work, and there he is, standing there so proud-like and going, like he really was a smart one. Oh, that's funny. That's really funny. I like that story. And, other things that we did a lot, there was a friend of mine, Joe Maggie, and we used to make our own rockets and bombs. Well, you talk a lot about explosives, don't you? Well, not usually. But we had, what we did, we made rockets. And we'd roll the paper and make tubes out of them and fill them up with it was gunpowder at that time, and put a big long stick on them. And Joe's dad wouldn't let us fire them off unless he was at home. A good idea, I think. Yeah, it probably was a good idea. So what happened was, we were in the garage filling up these little tubes with the gunpowder to make the rockets, and we took the little box that we had all the gunpowder, and it was like little petals, and we put it over 6 or 8 feet away. Well, somehow Joe's younger brother, which didn't know any better, he decided to light a match, and the match sprung a spark into that little cup, and it shoot up and went into the big can that was full of the things. Oh no! Yeah. Oh yes. And what it did is shot up there. We ran out of the garage, and it burnt. We had to run out and get a hose and spray up there because it burnt the ceiling in the garage. Wow! Bet you got in trouble. Oh, yeah. His dad came home, and he wasn't a real happy camper. Part of the farm that we had was not just sugar beets. We also grew other crops. Corn was one of them, okay, and there was asparagus. Well, we had to have people to come hoe the fields, hoe the weeds away. So every summer, a group of Mexican folk from Mexico would come up and hire out to do that hoeing of the sugar beets and the other crops we had. Well, they had to have a place to live, so my dad built kind of an encampment for them. There were little houses, if you would, with metal roofs on them, and they would live there during the summertime. And it was fun to watch them because they were such nice people. And they had, my dad had provided wood stoves, black top stoves, which were wood driven. You put wood in them to cook with, and they would take their tortilla blend and pour it out on that, and actually cook the tortillas right on top of that piece of metal. And I watched that all the time. You know, I never even tried Mexican food. You didn't? No, I didn't know how good it was. I wished I had at that time. Then he had a fellow that was he was the manager of the group, and he took care of all the Mexican people and assigned their jobs and their times and that sort of thing. And one of the fellow that was in charge of all that, his son was just about the same age as me. And he was really a neat kid, and I really got a kid out of playing with him and that sort of thing. We'd go out and go hunting and that sort of thing. Would do, Mike. Oh, Mike, yeah, I like the dogs like that, yeah. Well, old Mike was kind of interesting. He always seemed to know what we were going to do and where we were going to go. Oh, really? Did you tell him? No, we never told him. Well, we had a lot of places. We had a sugar beet ranch. Sugar beet ranch. That's what my sugar beet. What's a sugar beet? Well, sugar beet is a big beet. It's brown in color on the outside, and it's not one you eat. Oh, And it's one they take and pulverize it and process it and make sugar out of it. And that and cane was the two sources of sugar. Oh, so it's a big deal there. Oh, there's a lot of people that grew those sugar beets. My dad grew the biggest one. He had 400 acres of sugar beets.